Yes, people, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Hope everybody is well. Monday. It is Mondays, my dudes. Just shy of 8 o'clock, and plenty going on in the world of football, as well as the world of everything else. Um, Setting precariously close to World War III and all, and everyone's having humanitarian crises, and Manchester United having football crises, and I'm having an interest crisis because, as you probably know, I've not streamed for a fair few days because I just needed a break. Like you have your relationships, and you need to take a break from your partner because stuff just ain't working out. It's not rubbing together. It's not quite, the spark's not quite there. So I need to take a little bit of time to just sort of separate myself from that interest for just a brief while, just to enjoy not having the weight of being a Manchester United fan on my shoulders. So yeah, we're back into the swing of things, hopefully, and get this ball rolling. So yeah, we're talking. Um, Switch that back on there. Big up, Fuzz. Hope you're okay. I'm doing well, Anthony. Hope everything's good with you. Um, no, Donna Cullens left Spurs. She's left Spurs. It's official. It's official. Donna Cullen's gone. It's over. I don't support Spurs, but it's great. It's fantastic. It's brilliant. No more Donna Cullen. Also, I hope. Um, just hit the like button. Big ups to you, mate. Thank you for that. Donegon. Yeah, yeah. It's done. It's over. We're free. The chains, the burden has been lifted. The curse is, it's been lifted. We're not tied down anymore. Um, but yeah, man, this stream we're talking all Manchester United transfer talk and all the business that's happened. Now, as we know, in case anybody's been living under a rock, first signing of the summer's been done. Mateus Cunha, number 10 for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And some people will say, very pivotal player for for Wolves Premier League season last season. Um, thank goodness I can actually just call it last season now. I don't even need to talk about this season. It's not this season anymore. It's done. It's over. But yeah, to be honest, the first signing in Mateus Cunha, some people say, yeah, instrumental. Others say, actually, it was a problem. He was a problem in that scenario, in that setting, in the dressing room, and I'm interested to know what other people think, because I think as far as talent goes in a player, he's very, very good. But rumor has it that the club want to hail this as the marquee signing, and to me, I'm not really, I'm not all bought on that. I think Mateus Cunha is a great acquisition to make. However, however, the second you think that that is good enough for just that transfer, it's over. Yeah, can't be having that. We need more. We need to go to the next signing, straight onto the next, then onto the next. Manchester City have turned this summer, or are in the process of turning this summer into another FIFA career mode. Just Manchester City things, I guess. Liverpool, taking a point of strength in seasonal performance and then strengthening it, then some. Chelsea just throwing names into the basket. Yeah, we'll buy him. We'll buy. It's like you go into a supermarket. You don't care what brand you get in. You're swiping the shelves. You just like get in the basket. That's what Chelsea's market strategy is. Arsenal have already sorted their first piece of business. They're looking at striker signings as well. They seem to be quite, intensely focused on Benjamin Sesko. God only knows why. I really don't know what the pizzazz with Benjamin Sesko is. Same thing with United's interest. Can't begin to understand why we're obsessed with like, yeah, he's the man, he's the man. He's actually got a higher demand on price, I believe, than other market alternatives that have had a better season and are better performers as a striker. So don't really understand what the notion with Sesko is. Um, just yeah, I mean, if it's Arsenal's case, I mean, Anthony's just said it. Sesko's he's like Havertz. He's effectively the same type of player, but one's just come from the attacking midfields part of the game. The other's always been as a striker. Um, be interested what you got to say about Fernandes. I do have a fair few points of interest with Fernandes. Thoughts on the new signing? With Mateus Cunha, good is a good signing, but we need more, way more, way more. But yeah, so first piece of business for the club is done. That's sorted. He's going to take the number 10 shirt. Ironic, take the number 10 shirt. Obviously, that means Marcus Rashford has no way getting back into this team unless he takes up a number 19 shirt again, or it's just like, I guess I can take this shirt I had previously. Like, I don't think he's getting back in. No shot. So, yeah, so that's the first signing of the summer done. Number 10 for the 10 in Mateus Cunha. But the star of this show, with a big transfer saga, it's been plaguing the transfer talk for outgoings for about three and a half weeks now, and it is Bruno Fernandes. I'm literally just jumping between Fernandes and Fernandes right now. I don't even care anymore. I'll just go with whatever I feel like calling him or pronouncing his name. But he's linked with the departure of Manchester United to Al Hilal. Now, there's been all sorts of different price ranges that the media has been touting, from as high as 120 million plus, maybe, all the way down to 80 million. And then around that sort of ballpark, I think, is where you'll start to get, a lot more interest in, from other European clubs, perhaps. So I think it's obvious, if we want to make this to be a money deal, it's the Saudi market we're looking at to selling the player to. However, there's all different points between club, player, agents, representative, fans, board, everywhere. Somebody has a different feeling. The manager wants him to stay. Half the fan base want him to stay. Half the board want him to stay. But then the other half of all of those are thinking, I don't want us to be pivotal around one single player. And I completely sympathize with that. For me, in my opinion, I believe the right thing to do here for a 31-year-old that's not really going to have many good years, if any good years, from here on out, you're being offered upwards of £100 million to sell this player to them. Big £300,000 a week wages, albeit captain, talisman of your club. This player has been very much in the club spotlight for 7 years now. In about 7 or 8 years. Something thereabouts. But 7 or 6 or 7 years. However long it is that he's been at this club, I've literally just thrown that right to the back of my brain. I think the right decision is selling him because you're not going to get this kind of an offer for him ever again. In fact, looking at all of the other players you have in your team, there's not really another name there that is commanding anywhere close to that kind of a fee. So I'm absolutely looking at this and thinking, well, yeah, you're struggling to get another £100 million fee coming for any of your players. Even Garnacho, where people are just like, oh my God, he could be special, keep him, is being, well, in January, was being linked with an exit for about 60 million. Now is being linked with an exit for about 40 million. So £20 million on market value has just diminished. But to be quite frankly honest, as far as everyone's concerned, everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's a disgrace. We should be demanding 100 million for Garnacho." I'm thinking, no, I think this is just clubs figuring out what the actual market value of these players really is. It's like with Bruno Fernandes. Some people were saying, I don't know what show it was. It might have been on Sai TV show where somebody mentioned about £175 million. And I'm thinking, what the fuck are you on? Like, if I'm going to say we sold Bruno at the most accurate market value for the player, thinking about it, midfielder, sort of box to box, sort of a 10, 31 years of age, has been chucked around in systems. Nobody really knows what exactly it is that he is most specifically a specialist in terms of a system or style of play. He's just a sort of an everything player. He's become this everything player. And I'm looking at between 60 to 70 as a realistic market valuation for a player, because he's not the sort of player that you sit here and say, well, generational talent, absolutely got many years at the top level. Leadership is undeniable. Personality traits priceless for the younger players. We don't actually have those qualities in Fernandes at the moment. We don't have those qualities. We don't see Fernandes being the perfect captain or the right captain, because we've called his leadership into question too many times for us ultimately to say he is just untouchable. Nobody, like, for any price, we're not selling for any price. Which comes to my point of frustration with this saga, because where the media puts the story out and says the club really like the idea of selling, but won't sell him if the player doesn't want to go. But then you get another story like 10 minutes ago saying Ineos really desperately don't want to sell this player. I'm thinking, what? So who's standing where in this exactly? Who's saying what? Who feels in a certain way about this player? And to me, I just feel like the people that actually think about this transfer window that said, hey guys, you win the Europa League, big chunk of money we can add to that transfer kitty. You don't win it, we're struggling. You sell this player, right? And let's be real, people say without Fernandes this year, we would have been relegated. And I'm thinking, ifs, buts, and maybes, I don't necessarily see Fernandes being that sort of an influential player. I do feel like he just stat pads in a lot of the games, right? That he occasionally gets that breakaway goal, that he does set up that assist. Sometimes he does do those things, but I don't feel like when I watch a game of football with Bruno Fernandes playing, he is the reason a team wins a game of football. It really doesn't give me that impression or that feeling. It always feels like it's somebody else that's done something in that team that we notice a little bit less. That's the reason why we have the upper hand in the game, why we can switch momentum, why we can go from defense to attack, why we can go from attack to defense, and transition seamlessly through different stages of the game. And I've just never had that impression with Bruno whenever I've watched him. I'd rather buy a condom than Sesko. Damn. Taunt told me there was no Sunday takeaway last night because he had sunstroke. But he put out a video. He put out a video of roughly about the same sort of. It might have been pre-recorded, to be fair. Either that or it was just extremely filtered. Rewatching fuzz. Cool stuff. If people are watching, be sure to hit the likes. I would massively appreciate it if you guys could do that. Just doing my mod duties first. Is that why no one's chatting? You keep banning everyone that comes in. Try and find a viewer list and just slap everybody that joins. God damn, it's the reason why my channel ain't growing. Jesus. But anyways, I hope everybody is enjoying the show who does tune in. But I'm interested to know what everybody else's thoughts are. And even yourself, Anthony. If Bruno Fernandes was your player, would you take that money and reinvest? Or would you insist that it is a must, needs a must, build a system and a team around this player? Ruben Amorim is obsessed about keeping him. To be honest, I don't really see, how this is going to be at all beneficial for Ruben, because I just feel like the problems that we've had last season, have far exceeded any need to keeping a player. It feels like the squad, the whole setup, everything, and the mood that's influenced from the issues above. There's so many aspects that need to be tackled to really solve this fundamental problem that we've got surrounding the playing squad, that I really feel like we need to have a clean slate, right? Clean off from anything that happened last season, and on top of that, most importantly, the board sign the players, stick them in that squad, no contact for the rest of the season. None whatsoever. No board decisions that influence playing squad. None at all. Because I don't want to hear more stories about, new signings are dishevelled by boardroom decision. I don't want to hear that and to have to sit here and say, oh, that's another excuse as to why we can't sack Amorim if he's failing to get a tune out of the players. Oh, that's another reason why these players must be given time and stuff. I don't want to hear the board's issues overshadowing what goes on between the training pitch and the stadium pitch, right? I don't want to see those issues or hear those issues. What I want to do is to put as much emphasis on this point, and that is cutting all affiliation for last season out of this coming season, and to make it as clean a slate as possible, because I want to see what Ruben Amorim as a manager is absolutely capable of doing with a squad that is predominantly filled with a starting 11 of players that he knows he can coach, that play the system he wants to implement, that has the ability to convey his ideas into actions on the pitch. I don't want to be sat here in November saying these players aren't his players, they're not good enough, they can't do what he asks them, because then it's just another case of another manager where we've gone to the extremities to back, and ultimately the project has failed, and then we're back to square one again, because then we need to trust the board to make the right managerial appointment, which we can't do that. We can't do that. I can't do that. Henceforth the name here, Glinios out. Like, I do not have any trust in anything that the Glazers or the board do. Full stop. None whatsoever. So To me, where I stand on this, I want to say just start afresh. If you can get £100 million for Bruno Fernandes at his stage of his career, you tell him go and be happy in Saudi Arabia, right? Make your absolute millions every single week, right? And just enjoy life for a bit, right? You'll retire on a fund that will last you to the day you die, right? And Manchester United, one of the things that I would be intrigued about is because it's such a big name in affiliation to the club, you sell him, you expose the team's, the team's quality in the heart of it, right? You expose what's there. And because we know there's not enough there, that it's not good enough there, there's nowhere for Ineos to sort of hide and say, oh, well, we couldn't spend to reinforce the midfield. We couldn't do this. We couldn't do that because of money issues. Like, come on. If you make 100 million from a player sale, we know that's money that can be spent for a transfer. Now, one thing I would probably say is caution to the wind. Maybe other clubs are anticipating a Bruno Fernandes sale to try and milk higher transfer fees out of the club. It's plausible, possible, but yeah, for me, I would take that money, I'd invest it in other players, other positions, and really just bring a team together that's just fundamentally strong. Right, a strong spine is physical, is constantly able to be combative with other Premier League teams, um, and just can put good performances together. That's sort of where we're at the moment. I'll take the money. He's almost 30 now, and £100 million for a player that age. Let him go, and invest in a couple of players. So you would do the same thing. Question for us. Now you've got Cunha. What would this do for Højlund or Xerxes? So I know Xerxes is definitely going to be staying. All news around him is completely quiet. Nobody's talking to the club about interest in Xerxes. However, there are talks that have begun over the acquisition of Rasmus Højlund coming from Inter Milan. Now, apparently, this is confirmed, a confirmed story, which is going to basically be a loan with option to buy. Well, this is breaking. David Ornstein, literally a couple of minutes ago, has just broken news that Brian Mbeumo has decided he wants to join Manchester United over all other clubs. His words on Twitter right now. Now, I don't know if this is... Has he actually said this? Yes, he has. So it is on this feed. So Brian Mbeumo was one of the next talking points I was going to cover. As for this question here, Højlund, probably loan option to Inter Milan. Those talks have apparently started. Contact with his camp, with the players' camp, in the last couple of days, have indicated that the intent is ideally to see if they can get Højlund on a loan, potentially to see if there's any possibility that he can find a bit of magic. But I'm not, as somebody that really doesn't rate Højlund at all, I just think he's not quite got the smarts up here, unless he can find some of those smarts out in Italy, that playing in that league, the system that they have, play with a second striker there. Maybe there's something to be said about improving Højlund's default way of thinking on a football pitch, can progress the play, and actually fill out a bit more as a striker, and actually pose as somebody that can do more for his team in that position if he's not able to be putting the ball in the back of the net. But yeah, guys, let's jump onto this. Let's jump onto this. Brian and Burmo. Now, this is a player that I do rate this deal as a much more significant deal for Manchester United to do than the Mateus Cunha. Like, I think Cunha is a great addition. I rate that 100% welcome to Manchester United. Brian and Burmo is somebody absolutely, yes, please get him into my team. 20 goals and 7 assists, I believe it was 7 assists, in the Premier League alone last season in that Brentford side. Has a bit of a more natural affiliation to being a winger. However, has played more narrow, more centrally, closer to the centre on quite a few occasions, and it's not really limited his goal threat. So for me, as far as having a very good work rate as well, is absolutely critical to having a player with that ability to finish. A bit of an eye for creativity as well. Very good work rate. To me, he fits the bill. Now, some people will argue he's not really a 10, right? He's not a natural 10. Therefore, he wouldn't necessarily work in Amarim's system in those front three. For me, I would still have him anyways, because you you're not damned if you do, but you're certain what you're not damned if you do, but you're not damned if you don't. As far as managerial selection goes, if you have him in your squad, because if you play him, he does okay for Amarim, then fantastic. We've got ourselves a very solid player in Brighton Burmo in your attack. You can't go wrong with that. But let's say it doesn't work out. Amarim gets a sack. Another manager comes in. I like wingers in my team. Brian Burmo is and Amad Diallo are your right wing choices. Mate, you're set. You're set for that right hand side. You have a striker in the middle. Now, fingers crossed there are ambitious attempts with the striker signing in this transfer window. I know some people are saying the priority is the striker, and I think, well, a market opportunity, Brian and Burmo is sat right there. Do the obvious deal that can be done. People are talking about strikers, but are like, but we can't go after half of them because we need to sell to buy. Then fucking sell and get me the striker with that sale money. Brian and Burmo sat right there. Newcastle are like, come to us, come to us. Arsenal are interested. There are clubs that will take Manchester United not acting as the perfect welcome opportunity to hijack a deal to say, thank you very much, we'll take him. Manchester United need to act on this, right? And since Brian and Burma has turned his attention and gone, Manchester United would be my preference, Manchester United do not need a second invitation. That is a deal that somebody from the club should be on the phone right now talking about furthering that interest and getting the deal started, right? That is the open invitation, straight from the go. And hopefully, fingers crossed, Man United can really pedal to getting this deal done. Rumours have it that Man United has 250 million to spend next season. Very, very far fetched. Apparently not. Apparently, it's barely over 100 million. According, I think it's Mike Keegan mentioned that there was about 125 million pounds in the transfer budget, plus then player sales to come on top of that. So you could amount it to upwards of 250 million pounds. You could do it further than that. You know, if you sell Garnacho and Bruno Fernandes, that's 140 upwards. You've got the Sancho potential sale talks are ongoing with that, but there's also a possibility that Chelsea might, if they can't agree on terms there, might pay that 5 million penalty fee to send him back. Um, Rashford, I think people again trying to loan. I think Betis also want to try and loan Anthony, but I think the club will probably just prioritise trying to sell the player. Casemiro could be linked with the exit as well. So there's a lot that's going on. There is definitely a lot that's going on. I think Andre and Nana, I don't know about the sale there. Probably Bayern may end up going. I know that was still interested with the Milinkovic-Savic in from, I believe it's Torino. Is it? Which club is it again? Torino. It is Torino. I did have it right first time. So yeah, for me it is. So yeah, it's David Ornstein furthering that statement as well on Burmo. He's attracted interest from Arsenal, Newcastle, and Spurs, but he favours a move to Manchester United instead, as per David Ornstein. And I think that's one of the things that they picked up. I think Ben Jacobs picked up on that deal as well, is that they found that based off of what the players' camp was saying with Brian and Burma, is that Champions League was not a deal breaker. Like, he wasn't concerned about what clubs or what competition the club was in the next season. I think he's just looking for an opportunity to potentially increase the ceiling. Words and pictures, big ups to you. 250 million shirt buttons. That'll cost a lot for Sir Jim Ratcliffe, though. Words and pictures. We can't do that. Sir Jim will have an aneurysm. An absolute aneurysm. But I'll tell you what, I would just love to get that deal. Like, if Mbermo joins United, that's another deal that some rival fans will just be sat there just like, but these mans were supposed to be dead. They're supposed to be dead. Everybody and their nan, dead or alive, was supposed to be rejecting this club. And they're going there anyways. No Champions League, no Europe at all. Absolute turmoil at the club. And players are still going there. How much longer, to be honest, how much longer can we be getting away with, but we're Manchester United? Like, how much longer can we actually get away with doing that? See, it's now trending. United. It's trending on Twitter again. So yeah, Ben Jacobs has further confirmed that report that Mbeumo does want United. So there you go. Quite possibly, where everyone's saying Mbeumo next, quite possibly is, because again, it's an open invitation. The player says, "Come and sign me." Seriously, I'm not concerned about your lack of Europe. Bring me to Old Trafford. That's crazy. After your worst season in 50 years, as you worked out, better to move as many players out and get new in as much as possible. Absolutely. Start from scratch. Clean slate. The best performers of last season, right, are not as big of an influence on the culture at the club, are the ones that actually stay. So Amad Diallo's, Manuel Agate's, Dioros, Delitz, players like that, they're the ones that stay. Mazraoui, they stay. Everybody else goes. Everybody else goes. So yeah, that to me is what has to happen. But speaking on other transfer information or transfer stories, one that did really hit a nerve, really struck a nerve with me earlier this afternoon was talks about striker options, with losing the lap to Chelsea, I think, is a lot of people. I think a lot of people were. I think the club were hoping that everyone would be heartbroken. It's just like, oh no, the lap. But everyone else is just like, we would lose out on the lap. Ah, never mind. Nobody really cared, to be honest. So I don't think the club are necessarily like, oh well, that's so much for throwing your toys out of the pram over that. What instead everybody was interested in was what's going to happen with the Bruno sale, and then would it raise enough money to actually afford doing a deal for Victor Gyökeres, right? And that's the name that I think is still very much firmly placed on the lips of the fan base, and I don't blame them. I think if you are a club that's in a state of turmoil as we are, if you can still afford to do a deal like this one, then absolutely you should be going hell for leather to get that deal across the line. Like in Burma, people were saying absolutely not. Brian and Burma, no chance, not going to happen. Now all of a sudden, we get into the swing of things, and we get closer to a point where people start to realise, hey, Manchester United don't actually have as much of financial restraint as they are trying to make out. There's a bit of wiggle room there. You can make more money through player sales. What's one of the things the United needs to do? Sell players, rejuvenate the squad, rebuild it from scratch. Bruno has to be a sacrificial lamb to it, right? Because that's the bigger picture. Starting this squad from scratch. If you've got Cunha and Mbermo to start that off, and you can put Gyökeres between those two, that's a very that I think there's a lot of people in football that look at that attack and thinking, well, that's potent. That's very potent attack. I mean, if you compare it, that front three versus a front three of Garnacho, Hoyland, and then maybe Fernandes or Mason Mount, you're taking the former every day of the week. Victor Gyökeres, most informed goal-scoring striker on the planet right now. Brian Mbermo, very good goals tally for a right winger in the Premier League season. The season just gone, and then Cunha, very highly regarded in his technical ability, as well as the ability to create, as well as score. You're taking your chances on that. Absolutely. Cargo Thomas Mosima. Evening team. How we doing, bro? Hope all is well with you. Welcome to the channel. I believe it's your first time here, so welcome in. Hopefully you enjoy your stay, and big ups to you. My missus just said, I'm always watching streams, and she's going to I hope that means Arsenal are going to win the fucking league. No, it just means that you have to be careful in case she falls through the ceiling on the bed. You better hope it's not an Arsenal dildo, mate, because I'll tell you what, she'll probably ride that through the floor. Can you imagine that? Just see an episode. Welcome to another episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And you see Anthony's missus come flying through the roof. Oh God! Oh, look at that. The floor job has disappeared. Who knew? There's a window back there. There's a carpet. There's a carpet back there as well. But no, I did have to clear up this morning because we did have our fire. We did have the fire brigade come out to install lots of alarms, and they wanted to check fire safety hazards and everything. So I had to make my room actually look safe. That's incredible. Like I couldn't leave it in the state of a death trap. I had to clean it. I had to take responsibility for once in my life and actually make it a much more welcoming abode. And to be fair, it feels far more welcoming. I do need to clean the windowsills because it's looking a bit like the Somme on that windowsill though. So still got a bit of work to do there. But yeah. So Victor Gyökeres is ideally the player that everybody wants for the striker position. That was until somebody this afternoon said there is interest in Al Hilal striker Alexander Mitrovic. And I had to do a double take because I was wondering, why is Mitrovic appearing on my timeline so much? Mitrovic isn't a striker that United want. He doesn't fit the age profile. He doesn't fit, marketability. Only has really a small bit, just a very small bit of experience in terms of higher level Premier League acumen. And just trying to find out his age here. So he's 30 years of age. So I'm seeing, he's linked to Everton. Okay, well, fair enough. Maybe it's just the outlets that I read probably just reporting on it. And then I see linked to Manchester United. And I'm thinking, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? Manchester United in for Alexander Mitrovic? No, not for me. Even if he were a 25-year-old striker, not for me. And some people are kind of warm to the idea. Like between him or Jean-Claude Mateta, for example, and I'll coin Mateta because that is another player that apparently has been priced up, that Crystal Palace may allow this player to leave for a 25 to 30 million pound price tag. I doubt that, because Crystal Palace do like to inflate all their prices, and if it's Man United that come calling, 25 will very quickly turn into 40 or 50 easily. So I'm not really paying much mind to the price tag of Jean-Claude Mateta, even though technically I would much prefer Jean-Claude Mateta over Alexander Mitrovic, for a striker that is 30 years of age, playing in Saudi Arabia, 23 matches, 19 goals. You'd say, that's actually really, really good. But people then remember it's the Saudi league. Cristiano Ronaldo at 39, 40 years of age has got a much better goal scoring record than him. So, think of that what you will. So it definitely outraged me. And then the price tag mentioned for this deal was then £40 million. And then it just hit me like a ton of bricks. £40 million for a 30-year-old striker, buying him from a club that are trying to give us £100 million for our 30-year-old midfielder. And it's like, please God, no, do not let this be a case where we try to do some kind of swap deal. Please don't let this be the case. I absolutely beg of the football gods, do not let this happen. Do not let this happen. We'll be bantered until the end of time, right? Where we'll go from what, £100 million sale to Al Hilal to maybe, we'll swap deal. You get Mitrovic as long as we pay 20 to 30 million for Bruno Fernandes. And then Ineos going, oh my God, I creamed in my pants. Yes, give us that deal. No, none of that. None of that sort of business dealings that have buried this club over the past decade. We don't want anything to do with that kind of a deal. We want the sale of Bruno, give us straight cash, cold hard cash. That's all we want. That's all we really care about, because we need to buy. We need to buy and buy big, as on top of that, selling big. So for me, mention of Mitrovic for 40 million. And this is the thing. Fabrizio Romano video on Gyökeres leaving Sporting for the Premier League for 65 million euros. That's a package deal as well, by the way. The package deal. 55 million pounds in English money. And why the fuck would we do a 30-year-old Alexander Mitrovic for 40 million? 15 million pounds more gets you a 26-year-old. That's one of the most informed goal scorers on the planet. On the planet, and he's playing in the Portuguese league. Sorry, guys, but the Portuguese league is way better in terms of ability per team than the Saudi league is. It just is. It just is. Per team, pound for pound, the Portuguese league is a better league than the Saudi league. Cold hard facts. Just is. Arsenal and Man United are favourites. Now, the reason why I think Man United probably just edged this is not to do with like projects or anything. I just feel like the focus, and one of the things here as well, by the way, is that it's not just Arsenal and Man United. Apparently, there is also the interest of Juventus. Juventus are interested in signing a very prolific goal scorer. Victor Gyökeres fits that bill. So if we are a Premier League club, you're very much alert to the possibility that Juve will try to insert themselves in some business. Maybe we can try and flaunt that a little bit by saying, well, you can have Højlund on a loan deal, right? Just, as long as you give us a free run at Gyökeres, they'll probably just think you're absolutely off your rocker, but it's worth trying. See how much you piss them off, see what shade of red their face turns. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe they take it as like, oh my God, yes, we love Højlund. And then you'd be surprised because you think, well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be that excited over Højlund, but more to you. So, yeah, for me, it's a no-brainer. Victor Gyökeres for an extra 15 million versus a 40 million 30-year-old. It makes absolutely no sense why people would think Mitrovic over Gyökeres. Plus, it fits what Amorim wants. He fits the bill. He's played Amorim's system. Perfect goal scorer for an Amorim team. Would you not back that? Now, unless the board have scouted out other deals as potential alternatives, Jean-Claude Mateta, for example, if it's actually true that 25-30 million pounds price tag, I can definitely see Man United moving to that instead of going for Gyökeres. I can see that happening every day of the week. And it's not like I don't like the idea of Mateta. He is Premier League proven. He has got some good goals in him, but he does help, bring other teammates into the fold when it comes to attacking scenarios. Kind of what we're relying on Xerxes doing, except Mateta's probably a lot more physical than Joshua Xerxes. So he might be more suitable to that sort of hold-up play role in the team. Will the owners cash in on Man United's reputation, or are they going to sell high and buy low? I think that's ideally the long-term plan of Ineos. I think they want to increase the club valuation, and one of the biggest things that they are coining in is this stadium project. That they definitely want. They definitely want to build this stadium. Like 100%, it's all about that stadium because of rejuvenation of the area and the amount of money it's going to bring in. It could probably make them completely immune to everything negative stimulated towards them, right? And because of how much money they would earn from it, even if there are riots, they don't care. They're making so much money and they're not going to leave. One of the things, and I must second this, if I'm Qatar, right, if you ever want to dream of owning Manchester United, I'll just say this: buy all the land around the stadium of Old Trafford. Literally, just buy it all, everything. Buy Manchester. Force Manchester United to have to build a stadium out of Manchester if they want any chance of getting the stadium project to happen. And even then, if it's out of Manchester, why is anybody going to it, right? Like, if you want to get this club to fall into your hands, buy all the land around the stadium, because then the project's kind of dead in the water. Because then the Ineos would have to try and strike a deal with you to buy the land off of you for permissions to build this stadium. And you can just say, no, we completely refuse. Tell you what you could do, though, is sell the club to us, and then we'll go ahead with this stadium plan for you. We'll build the stadium plan for you, and then we'll let you watch as you imagine the money coming into your accounts, but it's actually coming to us, whilst we're paying hundreds of millions of pounds every single transfer window, including January, to make Manchester United successful again. Because, hey, that's our priority. We care about the football clubs we own, unlike you. You don't care. So, yeah, that's where we are at with that. Agreed Fuzz on the Portuguese league. Underrated league as well, by the way. Really underrated league. Osimhen is the same price. Also, Napoli wants him gone. Yeah, and that's another player that Arsenal could potentially look at. But I think in terms of convincing, I think, to be fair, Osimhen is a funny one, because Osimhen does actually really like Manchester United from previous conversations. Like, I'm pretty sure he said it on camera, that he does have a bit of a soft spot for Man United. So you could convince either or, regardless of European football, to come to United. You could. It's possible. It is a possibility. Jonathan David on a free. He got 17 goals in 34 games and 8 assists. I think Jonathan David was looking at a move to Italy. I think. Let me just check to see what people are saying with that. Napoli. So I think Napoli were looking at him, but I don't quite know if that's going to happen. I definitely know that, they're definitely replacing him at Lyon, because apparently the Nantes striker, 22 years of age, I don't know his name. It's all in French, can't translate it. Could be looking at replacing Leo. Could be looking at that player replacing Jonathan David. So plausibly, buying the land is an excellent idea. You get total control. You do. You get to dictate what happens with the stadium project. You do. You get to dictate it. S. Fletcher, did you say Qatar care about the club? Laugh my arse off. Well, if you want to go by with Sheikh Jassim, if he's a shrewd businessman and with the interest of trying to acquire a way into football, to, for instance, buy a football club, you don't just go, oh, we failed to get Man United, let's shut up shop and just not bother anymore. How about we go and buy another interest with a club such as West Ham or Spurs or somebody else like that, because it would be about Qatari representation in football. They've got PSG, and fair plays to PSG for absolutely slapping Inter Milan in the final. Literally, I don't think anybody would have predicted a 5-0 win to PSG for a European final of all things. But Qatar, do they care about Manchester United? Probably not as much as fans, but oh my God, would they care about it way more than Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Ineos, or the Glazers ever could afford to care about this club. It's night and day. it is genuinely night and day. Because if you, as Qatar, you're proud, you want to be proud of your clubs. You want to see them achieve. You want sporting acumen. That becomes a priority to you, right? It's about performance and success. You're prioritizing that, so you have to care if you want to get the payoff with that. And like some people who don't really care about the club, they just want it to make money. So you don't really. We've seen multiple times with the Glazers and the people that they've appointed in the past. Ed Woodward, for example, thinking fans are hysterical for wanting success. Are saying we don't need success to be very commercially strong. We just need to be an appealing asset in football. That's literally all it was tied down to. That was all Manchester United ever was. And now we've got somebody who is telling the world, well, if we care about the pennies, the pounds will take care of themselves. Why does Man United need to go penny pinching? You make as much money as you do. Should you not be more ambitious with that money? Should you not be able to command more in investment? I just feel like with Ineos, they don't take they don't open the floodgates with it. They really don't. It's about sports washing. How on earth have you ever thought it's about success? That's why actual owners never goes to the grounds, neither at City, Newcastle, or PSG. Well, with the whole sports washing side of things, that to me, to be honest, it's more of a Saudi thing. But with the ownership at City, looking at the way that they've gone about business, they've just had a bad season. I mean, Manchester City, was it Dubai, Abu Dhabi, that their guys from Mansour, Sheikh Mansour. I mean, that's is that not sports washing? If that's sports washing, summer transfer window they're going into, they've just opened the checkbook. It said, okay, Pep, blank checkbook. Spend as much as you want. They could do what Ineos are doing. The club is £1 billion debt, but you think they're able to just spend whatever they want. Well, they can't spend whatever they want. PSR is a thing. Sure, it is. But there's various things you can do to mitigate that. Like, it doesn't stop you from trying, right? To have the ambition to find ways around it. You don't have to sit there with your hands in your pockets and say, well, sorry, guys, somebody's put a stop sign in the middle of the road. I know we can go around it, right? We could go around it, but someone's put a stop sign in the middle of the road, so we're not going to go any further. That's kind of the attitude that we've seen with Ineos, right? With limitations, with that's the tune that the club has been reporting a multitude of times. So it to me, it doesn't make any sense why we should, as Manchester United, be put off by just small inconveniences of PSR limits you spending this amount of money. There's ways to get around things, right? You're struggling to spend money, not got much in the budget, sell players, reinvest, rotate that team. You don't leave money just sitting. Yeah, Mansour has been at the Etihad once in 15 years, but you think they're bothered about success. Are you really that deluded? What, so they spend money because, yay, money's raining from the sky? So you think they literally could not give less of a shit? If they don't care about success, if Mansour does not care about success of Manchester City, would they have done anything that they've done since 2008? Would they have done anything? If literally they do not care by 1% as to what happens with Manchester City, would they be anywhere near where they are right now? they wouldn't be close. They wouldn't be sniffing around Premier League titles every single year. And so much so that they've been so desperate to get it successful and get the project off the ground that they've got all of these charges looming over, breaches over fair play and everything. Well, that to me sounds like somebody probably wanted to win a bit too desperately, that they didn't do it a legitimate way. So, yeah, actually, they would be bothered about success, because if they weren't, they'd be viewed in the same light that the Glazers are, because they wouldn't be pushing for success. As PSR a small thing, they just about complied last season. Well, yeah, again, people can get around it, right? Some clubs have to hold back. Other clubs, it's like, for example, people are saying with the PSR compliance, if Man City get away with these charges and everything, like some clubs are probably waiting to see what happens. See, they don't know if the Premier League have got any balls about them whatsoever. So if the Premier League, right, do absolutely nothing with this court case with Man City and just give them a little slap of a fine, then all of these other clubs are like, oh, well, we were in the same boat with this PSR thing, and Premier League didn't really do anything about it, right? And from the way in which the Manchester City fans as well, by the way, the Manchester City fans were saying that the directors, in terms of, the transfer business, said that they fucked up that summer. They fucked it up by not actually selling anybody or rotating any players at all. They literally just sat there just like, well, we'll sign. Well, I mean, they let Julian Alvarez go. Zero investment to directly replace him. And they paid the price for it. They did pay the price for it. And this summer, I mean, you take one summer out, why are Newcastle restrained by PSR to such a degree that they've not solidly spent for what could be up to now 3 summer transfer windows? But Manchester City will take one summer off, and yeah, we'll then go ham in the next summer transfer window. These guys are now linked with everybody under the sun. So it's not about the success, it's about the sports washing. Jesus Christ, are you that dense? Are you one of these people that are just like, do you live up Sir Jim Ratcliffe's arse by chance? Is it all about morals to you? Like, genuinely, are you like wired in the brain to simply put morals above absolutely everything else and say, well, that takes priority, because we've got to talk about moral implications. I mean, why aren't you so anti-Glazer then? I'm pretty sure that Sir Jim Ratcliffe has had plenty of business dealings with oil states and human rights people. There's all sorts that go on with all of these people. And to say, well, one group is worse than Satan, the other group are saints. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. They just want to win things as it puts their country in a better light. Seriously, it's like, are you actually saying morals shouldn't be a priority? I'm saying, right, that sporting acumen in the elite level of the game should be the priority. But the fact is that people would sit here and say, in the road that we have to go down to be successful means affiliating yourself to that type of ownership, we're putting our club in the achievement side of things, right? You're saying we'll put that at risk by going down the road with somebody else that doesn't push the club to be successful, tries to cut every corner to not allow this club to fully compete at its maximum capacity. And we're saying, oh, well, we should put the morals first because that makes me feel a little bit more warm and fuzzy inside. No, we want this club to be successful. If one group is saying, I'm going to buy this club and I'm going to take this club to the next level, but somebody goes, oh, well, apparently that person's done some shady shit in the past, done really shady shit in the past, and then the other person who currently owns your club has absolutely tanked it, sunk it to the depth of the Atlantic Ocean, and has really riled up the fans and pissed them off and all of that, but he's going to do a deal with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Oh, yeah, you come in, we'll get him in because he's not Middle Eastern affiliated. Well, actually, wrong, he is. He is Middle Eastern affiliated. His company, Ineos, literally, do deals with Saudi Arabia, so what's up with that? But morals first, right? Morals first. Doesn't matter about the club. Doesn't matter about the club. Bruno out Gyökeres and Mboma win. Absolutely agree with that, Teddy. Please get them in. Everyone's got opinions, but not with words like that. Well, it's just when somebody gets in. It's rather when somebody has a difference of opinion and the way that they think about things, and it sort of turns into this where they get mortally offended, morbidly, whatever. They get offended. So if Putin took over United and the three best players and won the lottery the next 3 years, would you be happy? As a Manchester United supporter, is my club doing well? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I would be happy that the club is doing well. I'd be satisfied that my club is performing. Yeah, I would. I would. And the human rights thing, right, is its own separate issue. My conversation's about football. You're talking about politics. My conversation's about football. We don't need to go political with that, you know. Football is where this conversation is. And I'm talking about football ownership, right? And getting clubs to be better and play better and win more than other clubs. We don't have this right now. We can't even get into the top half of the table. And you're concerning yourself about politics. That to me speaks more about you as your own type of, and if that's the way you want to follow football, then go for it. Absolutely go for it. But for me, I'm putting sporting acumen first. I'm putting how my club makes me feel first. And hey, if somebody who ain't all that, who's not who's not the Lord's favourite son, right, can actually run a football club better than the alternatives. As football fans, you don't think about the politics when you're at Old Trafford. You think about what the team's doing, and that's where the priority is. And I think it says a lot that you went straight to Vladimir Putin, of all people. Concerned about Vladimir Putin, bringing him into a football conversation. That's something else. That really is something else. Hey, watching Fuzz, big ups. If you are enjoying the show, do be sure to hit them likes. Would be massively appreciative. and all of that good stuff. And subscribe if you haven't done so. It'll be a pleasure if we can increase the subscriber count up to 253. So big ups to the person who subscribed there. Thank you very much for that support. And yeah, um, I think I've pretty much covered the conversation, the talking points. I haven't got anything else on my agenda. Let's update that, see if there's anything else happening. So Ben Jacobs has apparently followed up confirmation the on the David Ornstein breaking. A formal bid of £50 million is expected to be made soon from Manchester United to Brentford for Bryan Mbeumo. So perhaps Manchester United are turning the dial on focusing getting this deal done. As like I said, if it's an open invitation, you should absolutely go all out to making this deal happen. I think if it's the open opportunity, go for it. Absolutely go for it. You know, if it presents itself, you know, don't let this become there's no market opportunities. You know, go for it. Make it happen. Bring the player to the club. We desperately need him. We desperately need him. Please make it happen. And as I've said, I'll be much more satisfied signing Bryan Mbeumo than I would be with Matheus Cunha, because Cunha was pretty much a guarantee. Bryan Mbeumo wasn't. So, yeah, I'll be much happier with that. This has been a good show for us. Fair play. Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate that. And yeah, hopefully. With next show, let's see what happens. Any more breaking news that occurs tomorrow, perhaps we'll go live for that. If not, then I think Wednesday's show, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, is when we'll be next on. It will be the penultimate show of season 2, the last one before we call it a day for a little. I don't know if Tony wants to go straight into season 3. Yeah, for me, I think it's. I think maybe a short break. A short break. We'll still have the Sunday night takeaways going on, so you know, expect to see me on there from time to time, unless Tony's called that a day as well. But yeah, hopefully season 3 should be interesting. Hopefully it's not The Good, the Bad, and the Relegated. Hopefully we're not talking about that next season. Thanks, fellas. Good points, well made, and good, calm explanations. I enjoyed myself. Pleasure to be here. Well, glad you enjoyed yourself. Words and pictures. Appreciate you being here. So, yes, thanks for tuning in. Last show this Wednesday. It is. Season 2 is coming to a close, and season 3 will be soon to start after that. And yeah, and also, if I may, with last passing words, if ever talking about football makes you feel like you've got to bring politics into it, walk away from the conversation. It ain't worth it. It just ain't worth it. We're here for one familiar interest, and that is football. And it's a game that we all want to enjoy, and we can enjoy it in our own ways. We can find things to agree, find things to disagree. You do it in a respectful manner. You don't need to politicize it. It's not that deep. It's just football. And if the worst human on planet Earth just so happens to own your football club, but he's making you champions every season, I don't think a football fan is all that bothered about that. As a human, maybe you can say, hey, you should probably stop doing this. You should probably stop doing that. I'd much rather be Qatari owned than Saudi owned. I'll say that much. But, you know, and on top of that, I'd much rather be Qatari owned than Ineos owned, or Glazer owned for that matter. So, yeah, bring me Qatar if you can. because they'll definitely give us more of a fighting chance at winning trophies such as your Premier Leagues or Champions League. So that's my feelings on the matter. You might disagree. Um, Yay, kickball! I love it. Kickball. Don't give certain people ideas because they'll perceive kickballs as in kick other balls. Fuzzy for Pie Minister. Pie Minister. Which pies are they? I'd need to know what pie I'm the minister of before I take this prestigious job. So yeah, let me know. Let me know what pie it is, and I might consider your offer. I might consider your offer. But anyways, lamb and mint. Lamb and mint. I don't know how to feel about that. I sort of feel maybe a bit underwhelmed, but then maybe a bit sort of like, well, could make it, could spruce it up, could make it a bit more interesting, possibly. Lamb and mint. Well, put other pie suggestions in the comment section. I'm Oskies, and hope everybody enjoys the rest of your Monday night, whatever it is you may be. Well, there you go. Newt Silent Bollock rat. More interesting, but probably not edible, unless you're on. I'm a celebrity. Then might be. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next one. Ciao for now.